In this video, I'm going to walk you through my exact 7-figure appointment setting process for online fitness coaches. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Josh Bowers and I've been in the online coaching space since December of 2019. I've collected a little bit over $1.5 million in cash collected in that timeline. My first offer was called the Bikini Body Project, had 300 clients go through the program, and at one point I had 100 active clients with no team supporting it. I then jumped the fence into business coaching, which is what I do now, which is helping other online fitness coaches scale online. Now, the purpose of these videos is to show you everything that has worked for me, the things that haven't worked, and then everything that I'm doing in my business at the moment. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact appointment setting process that I've used for years now, literally since the beginning, and that all of my clients are using and having massive amounts of success with it as well. I'll also just walk you through some final points that I think are really important when it does come to appointment setting. Now, let's break this process down. There's quite a few steps, and I'm going to dig into each one. Now, the beginning of the process with any appointment setting is generally there's going to be some sort of warm reach out where you are reaching out to somebody, or you'll be getting some sort of inbound DM, whether that's from an ad, a keyword CTA, whatever it might be. There's usually outbound, inbound. That's pretty much the only two ways that you're going to get a conversation happening within your inbox. Now, the first question that I love to ask after sort of some basic rapport building is, what are you working towards at the moment in terms of goals specifically? Now, a lot of coaches make the mistake right here in this section of just thinking that they're going to try and sell their coaching program straight away. But that is not the objective of appointment setting. Your objective of appointment setting is to just qualify the lead to see if you can help them. That's it. That's all your objective is. And then if you can help them at the end, then you offer them a call. You're not trying to sell them coaching yet. So don't race ahead with appointment setting. Now, this question here is incredible to use because it starts off quite non-invasive, I guess you could say. And as time goes on, we'll get more invasive with the questions. But this one here is good because it's not very invasive, but at the same time, asking the word here specifically is going to make the person detail where they are at. And trust me, if you were just to copy and paste these exact questions that I have here in this flow into your DMs and follow them word for word, you're going to have a massive increase in call bookings straight away. But this question here is good because what this does is it sets the tone and the mood for the remainder of the conversation. So once the person replies back with what their goals are, your job is to now put on your detective hat, and you want to try and find out more information about their goals, about the things they've been trying. But you don't just want to get surface level answers. You want to try and get specific with things and get as much detail as you can. So an example through this question, they might come back and say, I want to lose weight. And you would most likely be inclined to be like, oh, cool, that's amazing. That's something I can help you with. And you try and just like lead them on as if you're already like trying to help them. That's not what you want to do. You want to try and get specifics before you move on to the next question. So in this case, let's say they say that they just want to lose weight. That's not specific. So you need to throw the question back at them again. You'll be like, oh, nice. How much weight are you wanting to lose? Or where are you at specifically and where would you like to be? Try and get numbers from people. So it could be how much weight they want to lose, how much stronger they want to get, how much muscle they want to put on. Whatever the goal is, your objective is to try and get as much specificity from that person from the very first question, because that will snowball the rest of the conversation and allow you to create that depth with the conversation as well. Next question that's going to come along here is, how long have you been trying to hit that goal? So now, again, all we're doing is we're just being curious. All we want to know is how long they've been stuck, basically. This question here is good because it gives you an understanding on how long the person's been stuck. So if they say, oh, I've only been trying for a week, then this right here is a red flag that you probably shouldn't try and pitch the person. Still entertain it, but just keep that in your mind of like, okay, this person's only been stuck for a week. They may not have that big of a problem. They likely do. That's why they're in the inbox with you in the first place. But it's your job just to pay attention to every single thing this person says, because it'll stop you from jumping the gun, or it'll stop you trying to force a conversation when it's not going somewhere. Like, you really need to get really good at reading the room with the conversations that you're having. So this question here, how long have you been trying to hit? Insert the goal that they said. They're going to come back a week, 3 months, 3 years, whatever it might be. Your job is in between these questions. When you ask a question, they give you the answer. Your job is to acknowledge their answer and then ask them a question in that exact order. If you ask them a question and then acknowledge their previous message, it makes the conversation thread confusing, and you'll find that you'll actually lose a lot of people through this process because they're not paying attention. Quite often we just read the last part of the message and think that's what we have to do next, and if it's no question at the end, people will often stop replying from there. So they're going to come back, let's say for the example, 3 months. You're going to then say, oh, got you. That's a long time to be feeling stuck, haha, and do like the emoji with like the teardrop that's like sighing kind of thing. Add some emojis in there, add some character in there. Then your next question, are you following any sort of program to help get you there? Again, this is a really important one because now you're starting to find out like, what have you been trying? And these two questions here, like what have you tried to get there and are you following any sort of program? These are interchangeable. You can shuffle these around as well. And you don't have to ask both of these because some conversations the person's just going to tell you these things straight away. But other times they're not going to tell you. So you have to kind of squeeze them a little bit more. So again, learning to read the room. But let's say you ask this one here. Are you following any sort of plan or program to help get you there? If they come back and they say, oh yeah, I'm signed up to so-and-so's program and it's been really good, I'm just in the first few weeks, your dumbass is probably going to go and try and pitch them. But don't do that. Why? Because they just said they're already in a program. Some people, in terms of leads, are really retarded. They're going to message you the keyword, they're going to inbox you, and they're going to be in other programs. They're going to be doing other things. Your job is not to try and sell everyone who has a heartbeat and a credit card. You do need to say no to people. And this question right here is a great way of figuring out where the person is at in terms of maybe buying something. But then also, it's great because it's giving you more information to then ask the next question and then the next question. So if I have one really big piece of advice for you with appointment setting is to imagine that you are playing a game of chess. Now, I myself am horrible at playing chess, but majority of chess players, the good ones, are always thinking multiple moves ahead. So even though they're about to make this move, they've already thought like, okay, if I make this move, that person's going to do that, which means I can do this, which means they're going to do that, which means I can do this. You want to do the same thing with your appointment setting process. You are not just asking them random questions to try and sell to them. That's probably what you're doing right now, and you're going to stop that. Instead, you need to look at this as a qualification process, and each question sets up the next question. But you need to remember like, okay, cool, if I ask this question, it's probably going to get this type of response. And if it gets this type of response, I can ask this question. Or if it gets this response, then I can ask that question. You have to be thinking like this. Don't just ask random questions and go with the flow in the DMs. Actually pay attention to what's happening in the question and answer process that you're going through. So they're going to come back and they're going to say, I've tried XYZ things. You could then ask them, what have you tried to get there? Or eliminate one of these questions altogether. For me, I usually go straight to this green one and I often leave the blue one and I ask them, I say, what are some of the things that you've been trying or have you worked with anyone? That's like what I usually say because I want to know if you have worked with coaches before, because it's also a telltale sign for me if you are the problem, let's say, not the actual coach. So you're going to go through these two questions. You're going to get very similar responses, but they are different questions. Again, acknowledge and reflect and then move on to the next question. Your next question here is, why do you think that it didn't work for you like you had have hoped? So this question is really good because now what we're getting from the person is, all right, you tried these things. Why do you think it didn't work? What I want to hear from the prospect is, oh, it didn't work because this thing, or it didn't work because of that, or this thing here. And what you're going to do, number one, is get a lot of information yourself to continue qualifying the person. The second thing that you're going to get out of this is the person is now going to have a mirror held up in front of them. And this is going to happen a couple of times in this process here that you'll see in a moment. But your job is to keep putting the mirror in front of the person to make them see that they have a problem. This question here makes them reflect. It's going to make them self-reflect on all of the things they've done and why it hasn't worked. They're then going to give you an answer upon whatever the self-reflection is. Your job as a coach is to not be combative. It's not to be argumentative. It's not to challenge the person or disagree. You just sit there and nod your head and go, oh, okay, yeah, interesting, blah, 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 blah. Acknowledge whatever their response is, then move on to your next question. But again, this is a good one because it really exposes the problem to the person. Stage 1 of exposing the problem. Now, your next question. In an ideal world, how soon would you like to be at that goal? I love this question. If you're a client of mine watching this, you would know that I always encourage you to say this. And the reason why is because it's just like, let's say you had a magic wand, how soon would you like to be there? And it starts to get them to fantasize about being at the goal. They have to think about it. Again, it's self-reflection, right? In an ideal world, how soon would you like to be there? And they'll be like, oh, 3 months would be amazing, 6 months would be amazing, the next year would be amazing, whatever it might be. So now you're lifting them up, right? If we go back a question, so we're getting curious about their situation. Here is like a sort of a fork in the road, like, why do you think this didn't work? Then we start to get them feeling good. All right, in an ideal world, how soon would you like to be there? Like 3 months, 6 months, whatever. Acknowledge and reflect. Then ask them the next question. So if you want to get to insert the goal that they said, what's stopping you from getting there now? They have just told you some of the problems that they're facing here. But this question is like the ultimate mirror. So if you want to get to $20,000 a month, what is stopping you from being there right now? Again, what does this cause the person to do? Self-reflect. So they're going to go, this thing, and this thing, or this one thing. They're probably going to restate whatever they have spoken about in the previous questions, but I don't care. The point is to get them to say, oh, this is the reason why I'm not there. And the reason why is because this is the tie down in the entire conversation. This is how you can then offer some assistance. So what I love to do at this point here is I acknowledge what they said. Yep, that's definitely the case. A lot of our clients who fix that thing end up getting to desired goal. Next question, would you be open to getting a little more advice with all this? Now this one is really important that you ask this question word for word. The biggest mistake that I see a lot of coaches do here is they say, would you be open to getting more help with this? Would you be interested in hearing about how my coaching program works? Like they start to sell at this point because they now see the prospect has a problem. They're like, I can help you with that. And what do? They rush ahead to try and sell coaching. And like I said at the beginning of this video, the objective of appointment setting is what? To qualify someone. If they are qualified, then what's the step? Book them in for a call. The call's job is to then what? Make the sale. So forget about trying to sell coaching here and just focus on getting them on the phone, right? This one here is good because this makes it feel like it's in the benefit of the prospect. They've now got an open loop because you've asked them all these questions. They've then realized that the things they've been trying haven't worked. They then see you as the person who must know what the answer is to the problems that they have because you've been asking them these specific questions. And if you're doing a great job at following show, know, how, then you're going to be positioning yourself as an expert. Now, what show, know, how is showing that you know how to fix the problem without giving the how away. Show, know, how. Show that you know how to fix it, right? Funny analogy, but it makes complete sense. And if you can do that through this process, they're going to be seeing you as the one with the solution. So they're going to come back to this answer, this question. They're going to say, yes. Then you move into what's called the 3-step call pitch. Now, the messages that I have are too long for this here, but the way that this works is you can't just pitch a call. Like from my experience with, I'm not even joking, thousands of messages being sent in my own businesses and then working with hundreds of coaches now, is that you have to pitch the call in 3 steps once you follow this process here. So what our job is to try and get as many yeses as we can from this prospect. So would you be open to some more advice with this? Yes. Okay, great. Well, I can run you through everything that my clients and I are doing to get to XYZ thing. Would you be open to hearing more about that? Yes. Next one. Okay, cool. Well, the best way to do this would be to jump on a call. We can talk a little bit about where you're at, where you want to be, and how you can bridge that gap. And if you want to, we can chat about coaching and all of that at the end of the call. But worst case, I'll send you on your way with some great advice and some free resources. Would you be down to doing something like that? Now, what I said in that third one, should say 2 and 3, by the way. What I said in the third one is really important. I didn't say, yeah, let's get on a call and talk about getting you on the team, or yeah, let's book in a call, bro, and we'll sign you up to the program. Again, there is no sales language in this, and everything that I'm doing here is trying to show to the prospect that it's in their best interests and it's for their own benefit to get on the phone with me. I'm going to give you some advice. I'm going to give you some suggestions. And look, hey, we can chat about coaching if you want at the end, but look, no stress. That's the vibe that you need to have in your DMs. If you don't have that vibe, people are going to smell your commission breath a mile away, and they're literally going to run for the hills. But that's the process that we use. This is the process that I use. If you ever reach out to me and want to get on the team, I'm going to put you through these questions. It's a timeless appointment setting flow. Every time one of my clients has a problem with appointment setting, and you'll know this if you're a client of mine watching, is that my first question, I'll let my clients, have their little tangent and ramble about how things are not working. And then I always say the same thing if it's appointment setting related. Are you following the script? Oh, yeah, sort of, Josh. I took it and I changed it, or I used a bit of ChatGPT. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't want to talk about it. Just go follow the script, come back in a week and tell me how things are going. Fast forward a week. How's the appointment setting going? Oh, it's crushing it. Yeah, because you're following the script. This process really freaking works. But there are a lot of finer, smaller details within this. So it is important that you ask it in this flow and pretty much take these questions word for word and start applying those. Now, when it comes to some final points with appointment setting itself, I've kind of touched on this, but the objective of appointment setting is to what? Qualify somebody and book them in for a call. It's not to sell coaching. Don't use any sales language in your appointment setting. Don't say we, us, my clients, my team, I can help you. I know it's such a dumb thing to hear, but help usually gives off a sales vibe. Let's get you on my program. I can help you with that. Anything that's leaning towards hey, let's sign you up. It's just going to make people go like this, right? The objective of appointment setting is to qualify, get them on the phone. Your question flow needs to go from least to most invasive. So in the beginning, it's just so where are you at with your goals and where do you want to be? Pretty broad. And then as things go on, it starts to get a little bit more narrow and a little bit more invasive. What I would encourage you to not to be doing in the DMs is trying to get into the pains, how does that make you feel about the weight loss? And is that impacting your confidence? Don't do any of this. All of that is to be done on the sales call. If you're poking around at pains in the DMs, the person's either going to get emotional and not reply because they're feeling overwhelmed, or two is that they're just not going to even want to entertain a conversation because they just feel like, you're poking at their pains for no reason. Qualify them, get them on the call. The next one is that it's not about you. This is a big one, and I see this all of the time, is coaches start to get a bit of an ego. They start to get a little bit of a big head, and they start to get cocky in the DMs, and they end up making it about themselves, the coach. Yeah, my team, coaching, this and that, I can help you, we're the best. And they make it as if the prospect has to earn the right to try and talk to you. It's not about you. It's never been about you in coaching. It's about your clients. So make the conversation about them. Figure out things and ask them questions so you can gain more clarity on where they are at to see if you can help them. Like I said, it's not about you. Next one is connection over consultation. This is huge, and this ties into the one above. It's a human being you're talking to. It's not a dollar sign. It's not a bank check. It's not a Stripe screenshot. You get excited in the DMs because you feel like you've got a lead, you want to make the money and book them in for a call and whatnot. And I understand, I've been there. But when you focus on creating a connection with your leads instead of just trying to consult to them, book them in for calls and make them money, you're going to make a lot more money. but make them feel heard, make them feel seen, and actually give a shit. One final point here. Stories. What has this got to do with appointment setting? If you always have stories up on your stories, you're going to give your prospects the ability to stalk you mid-conversation. They're likely stalking you anyway when you're talking to them. But when you have stories up, I have noticed a direct correlation between multiple stories being up, appointments being booked. Why is that? It gives people more ability to get a feel for who you are and suss you out right then and there in the moment. They probably know who you are, they probably trust you, but having a few extra stories up on your stories is going to increase that trust factor, which is going to help you get more calls. But that's it for this video. I hope you got some value, and I'll see you inside of the next one.